Welcome back to episode 13 of Earn Your Couch. If it's your first time joining us, my name is Jacob, and this is my little brother Coleman. On Earn Your Couch, we really just talk about the things that are going on in our lives, the things that we're learning about, and how ultimately we can really lean into our life. And that way, at the end of the day, we can lean into the couch and feel fulfilled. And I think today's conversation was a really good reset for both of us because we've both just had really busy past few weeks and a really busy upcoming couple of months with work travel and weddings and all the fun that comes with summer. And so I know for me, this was an awesome opportunity to kind of remind myself that it's important to give myself grace, to know that I set my standards really high for myself and that negative self-talk doesn't serve me. It's so important to have conversations like this to remind ourselves of how do we maintain momentum, how do we ignite the momentum when we're feeling like we're in a rut, and how do we give ourselves grace when we're not meeting the expectations that the 100% potential version of ourselves would expect of ourselves. So
Let's get into it.
I'm going to be gone a bunch over the next few months. I was looking at the calendar. I think I told you, but it's like the first 24 days of May. I'm going to be in San Diego for like 6 days.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's
Which,
crazy.
I know. And it's like, I'm going to Ohio, Arkansas, Idaho, Bakersfield, bunch of just destinations, really.
Yeah.
But
Was it all for work or other purposes too?
work, wedding, music festival. So work is in Cleveland for a week. I'll be in Arkansas for a week. I'll be in Idaho for like 4 days for a wedding. But the wedding is Saturday, and like because I'm in the wedding party, I have to be there on Thursday for like the rehearsal, which right now I'm trying to get there on Thursday. It's not even guaranteed because I'm going to be flying. I'm flying on like May 5th. I'm flying to Cleveland right now. And then on Wednesday night, I would fly to Idaho, or Thursday morning. We have to figure that out. And then Thursday to Sunday, and then fly back on Sunday. And then I'm there just Sunday afternoon. And then on Monday morning, I fly to Arkansas. So I don't even really count that as being it. Like I'm sleeping in my bed for one night, but then I'll be on the road again. So I'm thinking about this one strategically from like my weekends that I've been home, or this month, April has been like in San Diego a lot. And I've been doing a lot of just chilling by myself. Yesterday, played tennis, played spike ball with a couple friends, but then went to Costco. And then Kelly came over and she was like, well, what should we do? And I was like, I just want to like hang out and like no pressure. And then I've been reading a book that's been really, really interesting, Man's Search for Meaning. And we could talk about that in a little bit, but it's written by a psychology professor or psychiatrist who was in Auschwitz, Nazi prisoner. And so he was a prisoner for 3 years, and it's talking all about his experiences and his observations while in camp. And then the second half is about like his theory.
Sounds gnarly.
I read a lot of it yesterday, and it is so insane. Like you're like, oh yeah, like the concentration camps, those were bad. And then you like read like a detailed explanation, and it's almost like a one shot the entire way of like a film like that has one shot that just kind of seamlessly transitions. Like the first section is just called like experiences in a concentration camp, and it just starts on they're told, hey, you're going to be basically forced labor to go work in a munitions camp or a munitions factory to like make stuff for the Nazis. And then rather than sending them to a munitions factory, they just get sent to Auschwitz. And 90% of the people that get sent there die within the first 3 hours because they just kill most of them. They only keep people who can work. So children, a lot of the women, old people, people who are sick, just immediately gone.
Crazy.
So that's how it starts, and then it goes and it takes you through the lack of sanitation, the beatings. There's a group of prisoners who are like the elite prisoners called the Kappas, who basically beat prisoners up and did the work, or like did the corralling of prisoners for the SS because like they were treated better, and so that they were basically just the guards who beat up on all the prisoners in addition to like the SS people. The amount of food they got was like 5 ounces of bread every day and like a cup of soup that usually was just water. It was considered a privilege if you had peas in your soup. Most of the time you weren't eating 2 days in a row. You slept on the ground with, yeah. Anyways, super, super gnarly. I retract. I go back. So this weekend and past weekends, I've just been trying to like just be in San Diego, just knowing how much moving and traveling I'm going to be doing. But I'm also trying to do like his prep for do as much as I can to prep for work where I am trying to get ahead, trying to offload things, delegate tasks that I know are going to get disrupted if I'm traveling a bunch. One, just for my own success, but also the success of our customer and also the person who's like taking on my responsibilities so that they have a week or 2 weeks to like talk to me about it as opposed to me giving them a task and then or giving them, the project and then being unavailable. And so one of the things I'm trying to do is like how do I like set them up for success in terms of like a transition. This week I had the experience where like Monday, Tuesday I was locked in. Wednesday woke up, locked in, drove to the office, worked out by the office, which is like an hour and 20 minutes away. So I left at like 5:30, worked out at 7 to 8, and then did work. And then we went to an Angels game as a, little happy hour company. And so I got back at like 11 p.m. And so I was up from 4:45 to 11 p.m. and just a long day. And it was one of those days that just threw me off the rhythm, threw me out of the routine, even though I got a workout in and like had a good day. Thursday I woke up just drained. And then it was the NFL draft and I had a bunch of stuff to do for work and admittedly like didn't what I would consider check the box of earning the couch. And then that like because I didn't do as much as I wanted to on Thursday. Friday I kind of woke up like beating myself up for the day before. And then that led me to like having a really long work day and I was like, whatever. And just went to a movie at night and had 2 days in a row where I really didn't achieve what I would normally consider like a successful day. And what I realized was like, it's not just the mentality of like move on Mondays or never miss a Monday. It's really any time like the routine is disrupted or thrown off for whatever reason, whether it's a really long day or you get sick or the weekend you travel, etc. It's all about like how can I like reset that trajectory and like have these moments where I dip and then I immediately reflect or redirect back up. Otherwise, it's easy just to keep as sliding down that hill and then it takes even more effort to redirect back up. And so the better that you can do at that redirecting after one day off or one lack of discipline. Same mentality of like, never miss 2 days in a row, which I did, but I felt it on Saturday. I was like, yesterday, I was like, I have to do something. Otherwise, Sunday's going to be more difficult. But I gave myself some grace and I was like, you know what? I still had a good week. I worked out 4 days in a row. I had a slightly off days on Thursday, Friday. NFL draft happened. I still had a bunch of shit got done at work. But for my own in here, how I want to feel at the end of the day, I know that I missed the mark, and it just kind of gave me a brief like shit. It's gonna be challenging with the amount of travel and the amount of disruptions to the routine and not being by my gym and having connect. They're all fucking connecting flights because San Diego doesn't go direct to Cleveland and it doesn't go direct to Arkansas. And so it's going to be a bunch of connecting flights all the time. So it's just more time unavailable. And so I'm trying to think like, okay, I know this is coming up. What are the little things that I can be doing to make sure that I go to bed every night and I'm like, I'm not just skipping all these days over and over and over again. I'm not losing out on all the progress. How do I maintain momentum as there's more bumps in the road kind of thing? And I think
Recently, I've
one of
been,
those things is running more because it's free and you can do it without having to go to the gym.
yeah, I've been, I feel like I've been on the dip of just the last like week and a half. The dial for work has been turned up so much more than anything else because it's just been incredibly busy. And one of my coworkers is leaving and starting her own business. So I'm taking over all of her clients now. And so it's just all of a sudden, the last like week and a half, it's been nonstop, just trying to fit everything in. I haven't gone to the gym since Monday, and I've fit in like a couple of walks and some runs the last week because it's just been like so much stuff is going on with work that even when I'm done with the day, you're still like thinking in your head of like things you're doing for the next day or the day
Yeah.
after that or what's coming up at the end of the week that it becomes like almost a distraction of what I found is it's become this distraction for when I'm looking at 3 days from now for work. I need to have this done. So what do I need to move around in my schedule the next couple of days to get that, make sure that gets done? this distraction, the drive to go back to the gym and spend X amount of time there, um, is definitely different than it has been like a month ago. And that's because all of a sudden things got really busy. I mean, things were busy before, don't get me wrong, but it's now like new things that just get put on you that are making you busy that,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, disrupt the routines.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're kind of thinking, okay, well, now that I got these things going on, this is really top of head, like this is top of mind right now that I'm thinking about. And that the last thing I'm thinking about right now is wanting to go to the gym and work out because I want to like make sure I'm set up for success for this short term thing,
Mm-hmm.
which has made me go for more runs because like you said, it's convenient when you can just go and run and then get back and it's a quick workout, but it's a good workout at the same time, right? When you go for like just a 5 mile. So doing that's been nice. And
Dude,
then
I mean, yeah, I don't even need a 5 mile. I need like if I hit 2 miles, if I have time, if that's all the time that I have, like 2 miles is usually enough for me to be like, all right, I got the benefits. I'm sweating. If you can do 5 miles as your quick run, that's awesome.
yeah, I try and go for five. I try and go for a minimum of four every time. But if I can hit five or six, that's a good day. No, even the weather recently, San Diego must be different, but for like 2 weeks straight, it was like sunny and 72. And it was like, oh man, I want to go. Like, I want to get out and go work out. I want to get out and do these things. And then recently, it's been like kind of cloudy and gloomy. And that's also changed. Like, that's not helped. It's altered my routines and mindset shift because it makes you more tired or makes you lazier. It makes you want to just kind of relax and
Yeah.
chill. You know what I mean? And especially when you are going like when you're going all day from 7 a.m. till 3:30 and then it hits 3:30. That's typically the time I like to go and get up and work out, but you're just still thinking about emails you have to send and stuff that needs to get done, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's been my challenge the past week, and I want to like kind of reset it. Like no, like this past week and I'm like, Monday I want to get back into that flow. So I'm choosing to like, kind of already start thinking about like Monday is going to be the day I kind of get back into that routine of doing some of those things I was doing now that I've been feeling this kind of just, I think, feeling of putting myself down almost, not giving myself that grace. You know what I mean? Which I know we talk about, like, you should be doing that. And I think it's more so of just the fact that I was going to the gym every single day. And then the last week and a half, I really haven't done that. And so you just start thinking, like, you're going to go down this rabbit hole of not getting back there. And so I'm just telling myself Monday, I want to get back there.
And that's what it's all about is you know that you feel better or you're happier or you get the more out of life when you're on, but there's going to be periods of time where you have your environment, your what's regular has to adapt and evolve. You take on more responsibilities, whether that's at work or that's stuff that you have to deal with at home or you're sick, which so you add the responsibility of getting better for yourself. And then you know your what's required of you has to change, and usually that creates stress and tension, and also takes away time that usually is available. And so when can you recognize like, okay, now I had a few days to be off. What can I do to reset? And I think that's what I love about the Mondays, never miss a Mondays. There's a natural kind of break of the routine every weekend. Ideally, it's not too off, but if your mindset is, and you kind of have to be intentional, like I've been off for a few days. So like I know it's going to be there's more tension to do the things that I know that I like to do than normal. And I think it's you said you're putting yourself down. I think your standards have been risen.
Yeah, good way to look at it.
And so, yeah, you're no longer meeting your own standards, which is a natural reason to beat yourself up because especially you make like a promise to yourself of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then when you don't do it, smackdown, internal smackdown. But I think that's the time where you say, okay, let me give myself some grace here. Lady's leaving at work. I'm taking on all these new clients. I had this, and that to take care of. I've had a week of not doing everything that I want to do. I recognize that. I turned up my work dial. I turned down my health dial. Now that we're kind of regulated again and I understand what's expected of me, I took care of business last week. Let's turn that back up because I do think it's super important to think about your health in terms of like a high leverage activity. When we were doing Intersect, we were introduced to this idea of like what's high leverage? How can you spend your time that amplifies your other time? And so things like creating SOPs or training another person or hiring another person, like all of those activities take time, effort, and energy, but amplify or accelerate or give yourself more time down the road. And so those high leverage activities, that idea kind of stuck with me, and that's how I think about exercise a lot of the time. Is even when I have the new customers and I have a bunch of clients and um, I got to send this and that out in terms of emails. Plus, I have my own personal side projects here that I want to work on, and I can just keep doing those. I can, put my head to the, put my head down and continue to get stuff done. But when it hits 3:30 and I'm banging my head against the wall because this person was an idiot and that person didn't send me what I needed, and I'm over here and I took longer on this than I wanted to, um, and I'm just frustrated. Then being able to take into do a little take inventory of what needs to get done, and am I gonna get more done? Am I gonna be more effective if I just do this for the next 3 hours, or am I gonna be more effective if I do go for a 30-minute walk, 20-minute run, 45-minute run, and then come back and then spend 2 hours rather
Right.
than three? And like that's what I try to remind myself when I am in those high stress periods. As long as I don't have meetings that I need to attend or like something's not expecting me to be done in the next hour, like as long as those deadlines aren't adding that restriction and I have the availability to, hey, you know what? A break right now is actually going to allow me to show up better. A run right now is actually going to give me the energy that I will need to go for another 4 hours, as opposed to just trying to push through for the next three. But it's so hard to like have that frame of mind when that person wants something, this person needs that. You have to, you want to send this recap out. This customer's waiting on you. That customer needs an introduction. Like,
Well, even on top of that too, you're like, there's so many different things in my head that you need to like get done. And then you think, I really want to go and do X activity for myself because a good sweat always feels nice and I haven't done it yet today. But because you haven't done it yet today and you still have to do those things, it creates like this tension where they're both pulling each other and you go
mm,
one way or the other. And in your head mentally, to your point, you have to make that switch of I'm going to go do this right now, even though right like at this very moment I probably don't even want to. Like my energy is not there right now for this, but I know I have to go do it. And because you don't have the energy for it and you don't want to do it necessarily right there in that moment, it's really hard to go do it.
well, I really like that analogy of those two things are pulling you, because I've felt that where it hits like 4 o'clock and I've been on since 7 a.m. and in general I usually go to work out, and so my body starts to be like, all right, man, like I'm gonna start throwing some anxiety at you because we're not moving, we're usually moving, and you're already frustrated about all this other stuff. And so then I'm thinking about like all I want to do that is that, but all I need to do is get this done. And then I get this done slower because I'm thinking about that. And it's like it's almost the same idea as just being in the present moment of when you're like it would be more effective to just be like, okay, I know I need to get that done, but I know that I really would benefit from going for a run, so I'm going to do my absolute best to compartmentalize all the things that I need to get done. Maybe it's just writing down. I loved writing just like a to-do list so that whenever I return from the weekend or from my workout or from whatever, that I know like that I don't have to think about the things that were on my brain and be like, I know I have to do this. I'm just going to go for a run and be like, I'm doing this for me, and that's okay. And I'll come back and I'll worry about the things that I need to get done. And usually when I do that, I come back and I'm like, yeah, let's do that first. Let's do this. I know how to handle that one. Like you just give yourself like a little bit of space to like reset, to refine your thoughts, to work through some of the stressors, get some natural endorphins. But once again, if you aren't like in that routine of working out, like if you hadn't gone to the gym since Monday or you hadn't gone on a run since 3 days before, your like reality is still like, oh, well, I just push through this every time and I don't deal with these stressors, these anxieties, even though 4 days ago I did it this way. And like every day before that for like 4 months. But when you're in that cycle, it's like it's so much harder to break it, which is why it's
It
so
is.
critical to like do it every day so that the following day it's easier to do it again and again and again.
Yeah. Well, no, one thing I want to do to help kind of get back into, because like for me, I really enjoyed the mental challenge of it all. The mental challenge of just pushing yourself every day and like working out and like getting a good sweat on because most people don't do that. And so doing those things is considered, I guess, hard, you might say. And so when I was doing those hard things, it felt like you were doing something more in your life, even though you are just working out. You know what I mean? And that's why I love pushing myself on like long runs because it's you against your body at that point and you're just pushing your body. And so one thing I want to do to help with that is put down like something on the calendar again. So 75 hard was kind of like that thing, but putting down like a half marathon on the calendar. Technically there was one today that I almost signed up for 2 weeks ago, but I didn't feel quite ready with it because of a knee injury. But putting down something on the calendar, whether that's like a Spartan race or a half marathon or another 10K, nothing crazy, but challenging where you do have to, something's coming that you have to train for. And training for it is almost more fun than doing the real thing, if that makes sense. Because training for something, working up towards something, like building up this competitive mentality for one specific event is like a really fun thing to do. I think doing that helps increase the lack, like helps increase or it helps decrease the pull between those things. And it makes you go, I got to work because I'm working on this and help building the company. And then I got to go on a run
Yeah.
because I'm running a half marathon in 2 months.
When there's times of lacking discipline or times of low willpower, having something on the calendar is usually enough of a spark to make you do something that maybe you wouldn't do something if it wasn't on the calendar. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of being like, I'm not ready for that, so I'm not signing up for it. When in reality, like signing up for it will mean that they get ready for it. It's like giving yourself a deadline for anything in life. Like if you just have stuff that you want to do, but you never like say like when you want to have it done by, like it's very easy to like just put it off. But if you're saying like I want to have this done by Wednesday and there's accountability built into it somehow, the race is great because there's a fucking race. But I love the idea of I forget the name of the principle, but it's essentially like you fill up a gas fills up the container no matter what its size is. If you have a jar that's this big and you fill gas, then it'll expand to that. If you give it a big old tub and you put gas in, it'll fill the entire tub. And so if you give yourself smaller containers to get things done or a container at all, then you will expand to the size of that container. And so if you put down a half marathon in September, then you will expand to that half marathon in September. If you say, I want to get this done by Wednesday of next week, then it'll fit within that container. Your
Right.
brain just like makes it happen. I think it's a good idea. Should we sign up for something?
That's what I was thinking. I've been looking at half marathons around California, but I was even thinking like Spartan. I think a Spartan race would be fun. I know there's one in November in Slow,
I think
but
we should if we do it, we should do the half
half marathon Spartan. Yeah, that could be fun.
because the 10K is chill or is good, but we run enough or we've trained enough that the half would be cool. Plus, I haven't done the half, and
Yeah, it could be really cool. Just having it on the calendar. And I also like the idea of each quarter because you and I both work on a quarterly basis and like each quarter doing something that quarter that
yeah,
is at the end of the quarter. So you're not only like, doing quarterly goals and getting stuff done for, spec right, but also you're doing it for yourself personally. So it's like, for example, if someone were to just start out running this year, like this is the first time they've really started running. I would say, okay, this first quarter, you would be like sign up for a 5K, right? By the end of the quarter. And they complete the 5K. And then next quarter, I would say sign up for the 10K and you complete the 10K. And then if you feel really good about the 10K and the quarter training like went well, you have the chance to, do I want to do a half marathon? Do I want to do another 10K? And just not overwork myself, but give myself something on the calendar to continuously make me go run. You know what I mean? Like that's what
hmm
I would say. That's what I would recommend to myself if I was talking to myself at the beginning of 2024. Not 2025, but 2024. I would be like, if you want to get into running, that's what you should do, and do it by a quarterly basis, because it'd be a great way to create that discipline, right? When you start in the smaller and with smaller goals. It's like even doing a quarterly thing would be cool as well. Kind of like how 75 was kind of like the quarterly challenge, right? It's basically the quarter, almost the entire quarter. But
Yeah, I know that when I did the half, I ran all the time and I loved it. And then when that was over and I didn't have anything on the calendar, it became very easy to not run, especially because I was like, I want to lift again as much as I used to. So then my goal became just like max bench by the end of March. So I was just hitting heavy lifts a lot. And then I could feel it at the beginning of this month where I was like, I'm kind of bored of just trying to bench a bunch. Um,
like a
and
new
so
thing. You wanted a new
I'm like,
thing.
what's the next thing? And so I
Yeah.
think you can set those like arbitrary goals. Like you just make one up. You're like, I'm gonna try and bench 225 6 times. See what happens. Because then but you still have that you're working towards. And I think the race gives you that added benefit of if I don't train for this, I am going to miss myself,
Or I'm not gonna do it,
or I'm not gonna finish it, or
right?
yeah,
Which, I mean, I could do a half marathon today. I just don't think my pace would be very fast. Like I could probably do a half marathon today, probably at like a 10-minute and like 30-second pace. Ideally, I'd want to do a half marathon at like an 8.5-minute pace. That'd be my goal. But I'm also one of those people that I'm not competing. I'm not competing in this for my time. I'm also, part of me likes to just, how many miles can you go, right? Just the mileage too is also
yeah,
fun, which makes it fun. But I don't know, the past week and a half has just been this struggle really of being really busy with work and trying to figure out what physical activity do I want to do that day. And there's also that aspect of it's the end of the day, it's 4 o'clock, and my dogs have been sitting inside basically all day because that's just how it goes. And you also, as you know, like when you have a dog sitting right behind you, you want to like let them out too and let them get their physical exercise as well. And so there's also that like, okay, I'm going to take them for a 4.5 mile walk today, get them tired and get my exercise that way. But then that time takes away from going to the gym and doing that or going for that run. And so there's also then that struggle the past week and a half is I want to like be a good dog parent and get my dogs out, because I see as I'm getting ready to like go for the gym, I think about like, oh, now I'm leaving them here again for the next hour and a half, knowing that I'm probably not gonna be able to take them for really even a quick stroll because of other things that need to get done that evening, right? So mixing in those activities too also takes away from me wanting to do other activities.
there's an opportunity cost for however you spend your time.
There is. But walks are also great, as we've talked about. Like, can be very productive, especially when Jill and I go on walks and having walk
For
and
sure.
talks and productive conversations and getting the dogs out. And then getting that feeling of like happiness when you see the dogs just excited to be out on a walk, right? Like you're just like, ah, I feel good about
For sure.
myself because they're stoked, right? So,
As we've talked about, I mean, there's more than one ways to earn the couch. It doesn't have to be a grueling workout every single time. And there's
right,
going to be periods of time where it makes more sense because work is lighter and so you have more time to do it. There's going to be times where it doesn't make as much sense because work is crazy or life is crazy or whatever. And so it's like, what can you be doing in those times when you're off schedule that continue to allow you to feel that fulfillment? And then my thing has been struggle has been the balance between complacency and being really good at giving myself grace. And because I've focused so much on that internal conversation and how I'm speaking to myself, I've gotten quite good at hearing a negative, criticism towards myself and being like, hey man, you're doing pretty good. And like, remember all the things that we got done today. And don't beat yourself up too much because you worked out 5 days in a row. It's okay.
right,
But then I still have those moments of like, now am I being complacent, knowing that I could have done more, knowing that I can continue to show up as a better version and knowing, but it's also just being okay that not every day is going to be perfect. That's not the expectation. And that as long as we're doing pretty good every day or very good most days, and then you have a few days off or a week where life is fucking chaos, that we have the skills and the tools to get back on the trajectory that we want to be on. And so I know like a lot of the time that I'm journaling, like I'm talking about like whether or not directly or indirectly, like how successful my day was in my own eyes. And that journaling gives me the opportunity to either really lean in and be like, I'm proud of how today went, or being like, I'm a little disappointed with our choices because, we took the lazy option on this one, and then that led us to not doing the workout that we could have really had time for, but decided to just go on a walk, which is fine, but we could have done more. And like it gives me that time to reflect on it, and it doesn't mean that I'm reflecting on the negative and then the negatives like just stop going happening, because it's a daily.
The negative is really, really hard. Like you just said it, you can work out 5 days in a row and then have one day where maybe you're not as busy and it kind of leads you to sitting on the couch,
The NFL
sitting
draft is
on
on.
sitting there watching YouTube for an hour and a half and then going, I feel kind of like a piece of shit right now because I didn't. What I normally do is I do XYZ thing and then it makes me want to continue to do more, but I'm not feeling that way. And now you're like talking to yourself negatively because today, like the present moment, you're not doing what you normally do, which means in your eyes, like it's a bad thing. And you're so right. Because even with like the whole idea of earning your couch and understanding that and having putting this mindset into our brains the past 7, 8 months, like the biggest struggle is still your negative self talk, your own self consciously saying, you piece of shit. You just took 5 days of working out and you're now going to sit on the couch this morning because you have an hour and a half of free time because you happen to have a really productive week. What do you think you're doing? You know what I mean? When instead, it should just be you don't even think that. You're just doing what you're doing. You're just chilling out. And this past weekend I've felt that way. And I think it's because of the NFL draft. I think I was so focused on wanting to have time to do that, so other priorities like went the dust.
I think it's important I'm talking to myself too. It's important to remember like to have confidence that when you're in your piece of shit mode,
Yeah,
that's also not just forever.
right.
It's very when life is go 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 all the time, it becomes very difficult to just be like just to be there,
It is.
and to like especially like sit on the couch when it's like a nice day out and you're like, I know that like earning my couch means that I should be doing XYZ. And one of the things that I wrote in my journal yesterday was like remind myself that earning your couch is like not a check the box. It's not like I need to go earn my couch today. Like part of like that's kind of how it started of like earn the couch, go for the run. But like it's a mentality. It's not a box to check. I'm showing up for me the best way. I'm doing the things for me that are going to allow me to be the best version of me so that I can relax later and feel pretty good about it. But like what you're doing to earn your couch needs to be adaptable because of the ups and downs and the inconsistencies that can happen in life, and to not let when you're thrown off that then changes your expectation for what gets done. But if you're having a lazy day and like you're not getting all these new projects, and then all of a sudden you're sitting down at the end of the day and there's no NFL draft on, and 3 days in a row you didn't work out, you didn't take the dogs on a long walk, there's nothing that you're like has really changed things, then you're not living the earn your couch mentality.
Right.
But if there's all this change and you're like, you know what, I'm turning this aspect of life, knowing that when I get through this, I'll be able to get back onto my routine and feel better about it. And in the meantime, I'm going to go on some long walks with my dogs, and I'm going to make sure that whatever, Jill's taken care of, and
Yeah,
how I'm earning my couch is going to shift.
it's no, it's all the way you described the mindset right there is a perfect way to describe it. I think part of the struggle now has become we've set such high expectations for myself because I've seen myself in this place of just a really good physique and being in really good shape and feeling really motivated, but like the drive, not even motivated, but having the drive, like being in control of the steering wheel versus you're carpooling with somebody and you take turns driving. Do you know what I mean? But being fully in control of the drive and like wanting to go and get stuff done, complete stuff and achieve a ton of things. And that was all during 75 hard because there was less distraction involved and there was more of a drive. And
Constant
now,
momentum.
right, and now it's like out of that, there's times where I'll drink a beer and I'll feel like I shouldn't. Do I really need to be drinking a beer right now? And then we've talked about it in the past, like this is why we do it. And then I often refer like back to that memory of like this is why we're working out. But like this past weekend, out at a brewery yesterday in the middle of plant shopping. Jill knows how to like be like, yeah, let's get that plant. She just needs to get me a beer first, and then all of a sudden I'm saying yes to every single plant that she picks up. But it's that I didn't have that super productive, crazy week of everything being work plus working out plus getting the dogs out. It was more of a mix of work and then getting the dogs out and going on like a run or two runs. And you feel that guilt of, I don't deserve this beer. You know what I mean? I didn't work hard enough for this. But then going back to, well, I guess at the end of the day, I did dial up work a lot. And that's
Yeah.
being productive in its own. Like
Yep.
if I'm only dialed up on fitness and not on work, then I'm gonna feel the exact same way with
With
how I'm
work.
feeling, right?
Yep.
So at least I'm dialed up on that portion, having good success there and making an impact. And then I also did take the dogs on a walk and go for a couple runs. Went to the gym one day. So I guess at the end of the day, it wasn't a total loss of a week. Like I could have just not done any of that, like you said, and
Mm.
that's where I really would feel like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have had that beer. But you just totally just made me feel a lot better about this weekend. Like walking through this right now, just talking through this, I'm like, wait a second. Even though I wasn't on, I did have a pretty productive week. Like, okay, we're good. I'm ready for Monday.
And
I'm
now
ready.
it's in your control to reflect on how that week went. This is how I'm feeling because of that week. All in all, it was still fine,
Yeah,
but I have this negative, there's a negative taint. There's a negative tint
connotation.
to there's a negative tint to the week that I have. And so why is that? And then it's like, what can I do differently this week to change that? Because I still need to have a good week at work. Those customers are still coming over onto my plate. But what can I do differently? And I think that's the one, as we talked about, one of the beauties of journaling is that it gives you that space that to think, not just let like the one event or the one emotion that negatively colors the way that you're feeling about the day or negatively feeling about the week, but it allows you to sit there and be like, let's recognize the other things that also happened, the things that I'm grateful for, the things that went well, and not just let the thing that is pissing me off dictate how I feel about how the week went. Because once again, every week there's going to be imperfections, but like, don't let the imperfection make it seem like the week is so bad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's part.
That's
And give yourself the grace to be like, okay, I needed that week to get myself right for work. Now let's get myself back on track the way that I know that I want to show up every day.
well, and it's like giving the great, like you said, I think I was giving myself grace when I had a really productive week, not giving
Mm,
myself grace when I had.
you needed grace?
Right. Like taking 2 days off, 3 days off on a week, you immediately put yourself down. But I give myself 5 days straight and then have a fun day on Saturday. I'm like, this is why we do it. And in reality, I think I need to get a lot better at being like, I had 3 productive workouts this week. And I had a very busy day, busy day of work every single day. I'm going to chill today.
One of my best friends down here, she just had to have like surgery, which made her stay in bed for like a week straight. And she was texting me like it was like 6 7 days after the surgery, and she was like, I hit 6,000 steps, like I feel like such a piece of shit, like I need to be doing more. And I was like, you had more steps than I did today, and I'm fine. You had surgery a week ago, but because of the standard that you have for yourself, she's a walker, she loves to walk, and so she's usually like 12 15,000 steps a day. Like, remember who you're comparing yourself to is someone who is doing the most. Not the most out of any person alive, but you're in the top percent of people who are active. And so when you're comparing yourself to your the 100% version of you, when you're naturally at a 30% version of you because of surgery, because your doctor said this is a 6 week recovery, like you need to give yourself the room to be like, you know what? A week ago I wasn't allowed to get out of bed. and today I hit 6,000 steps. If I can hit 10,000 steps 2 weeks outside of surgery, like I'm a month ahead of what everyone expected. Like you got like remember to like if you're constantly I see this all the time. Like maybe you don't recognize your progress because you're constantly raising the bar. And so you meet the bar that was your standard 3 months ago, but now your bar is higher because you did 75 hard.
Right.
A year ago, if I would have told you that you had 3 workouts and 2 long runs, you'd have been like, that's pretty good.
Pretty good day for me.
That's a pretty good week. And I have all these customers. This was at the time when you didn't have didn't have the job yet. And
Right.
so like a year ago, if it was like in a year, you're going to be taking on, an additional 10 customers. You hit 3 workouts. Your dog is alive and well. And you took him out on a couple walks. And on Saturday, you went plant shopping and grabbed a beer. You'd be like, life's pretty good. But because that standard has been set, which I think is a good thing because your standard for yourself is higher, you're going to go further in life than if your standard was lower. But that also means that when you don't hit your own standard, then there's all this room for what I could have done. But your standard used to be here, and now it's here. And so just be like, I'm still doing pretty good, but like I could
I
be
didn't
better
think
next
about it
week.
like that. I like that a lot. That's a really good way to think about it. It's like your ego's growing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is totally the reason why I put myself down for not having that standard. That's a really good. I like all your different analogies you bring on, by the way. You have a lot of different, you do a really good job picture painting, we might call it, right? Back in our sales game, because I think you're totally right. And that's something I want to continue to improve on is understanding when I am feeling that way and putting myself down because of that standard I have for myself. Because that can easily be a very negative thing, which, as we've been talking about, it's a negative thing to put yourself down because you're not 100% your standard at that moment.
It doesn't serve you.
Yeah, it doesn't make me better. Just because I have a high standard doesn't mean I'm going to go farther if I continue to compare myself to that standard with what I'm doing. It's more so about I think it's how do you adjust that standard through what comes at you at life, right? Because the standard you have is past you. It's what you've done in the past, essentially. And new things come up. So how do you adjust what your standard is? Do you increase it? Do you keep it the same? Is it, hey, I lost X amount of time this week, this month, so I'm not going to be able to do XYZ things logistically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things that I also like to think about is I think a lot of people mistake giving your 100% as giving your maximum potential every single time. I think to reframe it, giving your 100% is giving your all with the energy and the time that's available. But for example, if I said go and run a mile and you're fully healthy, recovered, rested, etc., then giving your 100%, your expectation for outcome should be maybe your best available, mile. But if you have the flu and I say go run a mile, then your expected outcome should not be a PR. Your expected outcome should be I went out there and I ran a mile and I finished it,
With
or
the
the
flu.
expectation with the flu. And so it's like the idea of like you're very rarely ever able to show up as giving with the ability to give 100% of your potential, but you can always show up and give 100% of your capacity, and your capacity can be influenced. You can get as close to 100% of your potential by doing the right habits and doing the right things for yourself and maintaining the momentum and all that. That's, one of the goals of earning your couch is that you're showing up with as close to being the best version of yourself as possible, as often as possible. But that's also, hey, if I don't have a bunch of time today because I'm getting ready for a trip and I have to take care of this and I have to go do that and the dogs need to go to the vet, well, you're 100%. If the expectation is, well, I need to go for an hour and a half lift in order for me to feel like I earned it, well, then you're setting yourself up for failure because that time is not available. If you're sick, what does showing up for yourself look like? Like it's all relative. And so that when your standard changes because you get better, you get more fit, you get more consistent, you're eating right, you're sleeping better. When your standards continue to elevate for, physical exercise, then when you have an off week and you have to turn up the work dial a bunch or you get sick or you're completely disrupted because you have to travel for XYZ reasons. Well, your standard is now over here, but like, how can you like mentally reset? Hey, you know what? Like, I don't have time to do all the things that I normally like to do. So like, if I squeeze in a 20-minute run, like that's a W. And so you can feel that same level of earning fulfillment that you do when you're meeting your 100% potential when you're achieving 100% of your capacity.
No, that all makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Adjusting to that mentality is something that I need to get better at. Probably something I should actually start writing down more often.
It's easier to do in reflection and than it is in the moment, especially because like for me it's hard to recognize like all the stressors that are going on. And like when I go and like work out after work and I have like a bad workout, I'll beat myself up about it and then I'll come back and write and I'll be like, I got up at 6 a.m., was on from 7 to 4. I really didn't eat very well. It was mentally exhausted and drained. And the fact that I like went is a
Right.
win.
Yeah, I take that a lot too. Just going in general, and doesn't matter how long you spend there, I feel like is a win because it's the hardest part is just getting up and doing it.
Yeah, just like when you have low willpower, having the discipline to still do something,
Yeah,
to still show up for yourself.
right.
Even when you're like, I know that that would be really good for me, and but your brain is still like, fuck it, I'll be fine for one day. But then you're like, no, this is why we need to go. And those are the two, like those are the things that I gave in on the past couple of days, and then that's what, I beat myself up about, of just like I knew that that's what would have been a value add from how I like the highest ROI, the best leverage on how I spent my time to get back to what I was feeling on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday after accomplishing all that I did. And I kind of just let the excuse of the NFL draft win. And then I woke up on Saturday and I was like, we need to alter momentum now. Like we need to shift. We need to overcome the inertia today so that Sunday is that much better. And that way we're just like rolling into Monday.
Right. So you don't feel like you have to kind of catch up on Monday, play catch up, but you're just in it.
You're just in it.
Yeah. It makes such a difference.
There's a guy that I met, and we're gonna have to have him on the podcast at some point. His name is Jack. He's roommates with Skylar, but his whole thing is called maintain momentum, and he's all about maintaining momentum. He picked up the phrase when he was doing 75 hard, and he's like, I could feel myself elevate in all of these different areas of my life, and it just became my catchphrase. It's his earn your couch. It's maintain momentum. And I think about the importance of momentum a lot. And I actually wrote like the start of an article about the importance of momentum and maintaining it when you have it and igniting it when you don't. And having like the wherewithal and the understanding of like, oh, I'm in a slump right now. What are the things that aren't going to be so daunting that I can accomplish to just get the ball rolling a little bit, because that's going to make the following day a little bit easier, the following day a little bit easier, blah, 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 blah. Which I love.
How do you ignite it? Because for me, I am going with the momentum, the wave of the momentum, and I don't realize I'm with it until like I'm in the middle of it. I don't just go, okay, let's get it going now. It's I find myself in that place, like in that flow. I don't actually start it.
How are you, when you said you were thinking about how to get after it on Monday, what are you thinking about doing?
Just going back into a normal, oh, it's 4 o'clock, gonna drive to the gym and have a specific type of workout, like lift in.
What are
Which
you doing? What are you going to do at 4 o'clock tomorrow?
bench. Well, chest.
Chest?
I call bench chest same thing, but you know what I mean.
Is chess one of your favorite days?
I mean, let's be honest. I think it's everybody's favorite day. Now, it's one of those days, but it's also one of those days that it's like you don't think about chest and think, oh, that's gonna be really hard. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's one of those workouts you really do enjoy
Yeah.
doing.
Then I think you're igniting momentum perfectly.
Right.
You're already doing it. I think you had the wherewithal to feel this past week. I did not. I was not in a momentous state, and I had a Saturday that I'm giving myself grace that I had a beer and I'm enjoying myself with my fiance and we're being outside and we're improving our home, but I didn't feel like I earned this from my workouts. And so on Sunday you're still kind of in the weekend mentality, but your brain is okay. On Monday, I'm going to go work out at a specific time at 4 o'clock, and I'm gonna do bench and chest, which is one of my favorite days. That's pretty enjoyable. That's not gonna make me, if I am tired or lack the discipline, I'm not hitting legs or I'm not signing up for a 10-mile run where I might just be, chicken out. And so I think those are the two kind of critical things. Is one is to be like, plan around it, make it a non-negotiable. I'm gonna go for a 20-minute run in the morning before I start my shift, before I start work. It's gonna be an easy 20-minute jog. I'm just gonna start sweating. I'm not gonna worry about how fast I go. I'm just gonna run 10 minutes that way and 10 minutes back. You've started the momentum.
Right. Yeah. Reading is a lot like that too, like reading a book.
I'm ready for
That
5 minutes.
it just is like, oh, I read a book. Like, that's cool. I'm going to go do this now. Thing. But I'm never sitting there going, I need to like ignite this momentum, I guess. Like I've definitely been in the place where you're in the middle of it and you're like, I want to keep this going. Like, I don't want this to stop right now. You know what I mean? Like maintaining that momentum, like you said.
When you're on,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. You have that state of flow basically where you're just it's the same thing with work when you're in a work state of flow and you're going and I could keep doing this for another hour. Like or I need to get this done. Just got this done. I'm going to go to this next thing. Like that's all
but you don't feel like you wanting to make sure that you worked out on Monday was not, I need to get back on the momentum.
I think like
I
saying
think,
it that way definitely is like it is the way you said it is igniting it.
right.
But I'm never thinking in my head, like, I gotta get this momentum back. I think it's more so of, I wanna get this feeling of accomplishment, success back, which, yeah, relates to momentum.
But I think you get those feelings more frequently, consistently when you're in that state of momentum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But that's the plan. I'm gonna take the dogs.
I think you'll start saying it now.
Might honestly maintain momentum.
Because
Maintain it.
there's been times when I've come back from like a productive day and like the TV is on and like there's nothing like a momentum killer like the TV. Not that there's anything wrong with watching it, but if you're trying to maintain it, I'll try and go like I'm gonna go upstairs and avoid it to maintain it.
I get what you're saying.
Or if you're like I had a great day, I'm gonna now chill on the couch. You're like accepting like I'm killing the momentum.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah. It makes sense.
Wield momentum like a weapon. I feel like if you can do that, you'll just have more control because you'll be like, I know that I don't have the momentum in my hands right now, so I need to pick it up somewhere. I'll pick
It's
it
like
up on
any
Sunday.
Infinity Gauntlet. You're all 5 mile run.
Yeah, dude.
And then you're like,
Meditation.
reading a book.
Yeah.
Really healthy dinner. The one last one that's missing. Gym. And
Going to,
then Iron Man steals the thing from him, and you're like, damn it, I gotta do it all over again.
going to bed on time is probably the last one.
Yeah, sleep has been something I actually have been really good about. Jill wakes up super early for work, and so we've just been so good about getting into bed by like 7:30, 7:45 every night and falling asleep and then getting up at a really good time in the morning and just getting good sleep, which is something that I never got before this year. I was always a night owl, stay up late, stay up till 1, wake up still early and not get that sleep. And it really does make a difference. So I will say, I'm going to give myself credit for that. That's been something I've been really good about this year is just getting a really good sleep cycle in every single day, basically.
Nice.
Even on the weekends, not going to bed at 7:30, but like if we're not out doing something, like we're in bed by 9 and we're waking up early on Sunday and getting and having a day still, which is cool. It's something that we actually talked about recently is this shift from like a few years ago, we were working at a restaurant, working like till, midnight, staying up till 2, maybe even going out and then sleeping until noon, waking up at sleeping until noon, getting ready for work at 4 p.m. Like just these weird schedules that are nothing like our schedules today, and it's such a shift in kind of what we like to do during the week,
Yeah.
which is it's cool to look back at that and see that. So, but yeah, my plan is to take the dogs for a walk today if it's not raining. It was raining yesterday. It kind of looks like it's going to be raining. And if it is raining, then I'm going to go to the gym and kind of try and ignite that
Momentum.
momentum. I wanted to say drive.
Ignite the
Ignite that
drive.
momentum.
No, I mean, I mean, even within the momentum ignition, there's different things that ignite the ignition. Like just get in the car is a momentum igniter, you know?
Conversations.
Conversations, reflection. I think having honest conversations with other people, but also with yourself.
Yeah. But like talking
Like
to you
otherwise, you're
like
just in the
today.
world. You're just in the whirlwind of all your thoughts, and you're pissed about yourself, and you're upset about this, and then you're like, blah blah blah. I could have done that, and then you just have a reset.
Jill's really good about giving grace. She'll like, cause I'll be like, oh, God, I feel like I really need to do this today. She'll be, you just did XYZ thing and this.
It's an
Quit
objective
stressing about it.
perspective,
And I'm
or
all,
it's
it's a
yeah,
really good point.
it's that they're it's like a it's someone else observing
Yeah.
yours.
Right. Which is why,
Yeah,
like, even this conversation today, like, I feel like going into it, I was all my honesty about, working out and all that. It's not gonna be there this time. Like, I'm not gonna be able to say I had great weeks and I've been killing it with the workouts and I've just been feeling really good. I just haven't felt that way. And then even talking to you about it, you've switched it in the sense of no, you're just being really hard on yourself. And that's something that I've struggled with my entire life, right? And so it's just another reminder to continue to get better at taking away those negative thoughts and beating yourself up and accepting and being okay with really putting in effort.
and taking a step back and being like, we're doing pretty good still.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't go, it'd be a very different thing if I got hopped on here and I was like, yeah, I had a DUI and I crashed into a transformer. But like, like I'm proud of myself overall. It's like you fucked up bad,
Yeah,
dude.
like wait, what
Like,
do you mean? What are you
nah, I
talking?
mean, it was just a transformer and it was only just like the southeast side of San Diego that lost all of its power for a day and a half. There's only two hospitals affected, but like I worked out on Sunday morning. It's like you can't just give yourself grace for just doing like committing a felony and then like not dealing with no, it's like what we're beating ourselves up for is like we missed a workout.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. There's no reason to put ourselves down.
And it's not like you missed the workout because all day you sat and you ate Doritos and you watched TV and you didn't do anything. It's because you had responsibilities and things to take care of. And it's like, yeah, we want to work out every day. And like that would be the dream. And we know that that would be like the best thing for us. I mean, with the right amount of rest and recovery and blah, blah, blah. But also it's like our job is not a professional athlete. And so if they're missing workouts multiple days in a row, it's like, dude, you're not taking care of your job and you're not taking care of your body and you're like, there's things that you got to do, and that's
And you're
okay.
like, dude, you're
It's
representing a lot of
okay.
different fantasy football teams, man. Like you can't just you're supposed to be the RB1. Like Bijan, whatever you doing all these commercials, man. I expect you to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's true. And those are good points. Just good reminders.
I think with that reminder, we wrap it up. What's one thing you're grateful for?
I think I'm really grateful for the fact that like our family really enjoys being around each other. And we don't see each other all the time, but when we do, it really does feel like we just saw each other, if that makes sense. And it's always fun. It's a really cool thing to have, especially when you and I are such good friends and we live so far away and we don't see each other very often in person that we can have the relationship that we have. So I'm grateful for the fact that that's our family. That's our entire family right there. Parents, siblings, cousins. It's really cool to have that. That's not the only thing I'm grateful for. There's other things, but we're
Yeah, no,
forgetting
I
one
mean,
thing.
yeah, you can't. I never expect you to say everything that you're grateful for
Do you want me
whenever
to
I
say it
question.
all? Okay.
Here we go. Okay, I was born in San Luis Obispo. No, it's a good one and it's real because I don't think we were privy to that other families don't talk to each other or don't get along or don't have families.
Well, and I also think it's awesome that like me, you, Dylan, and Zach, we just have a sports group chat going about specifically just about the Lakers for their like specific postseason series that's going on, and we hardly ever really talk to each other on a daily basis. But then all of a sudden, the Laker game's on, and we're all just talking, and it's just like it's. I think that's awesome that we can just do that, right?
I've stayed up to date with what's going on with the Lakers because of that group chat. Like I haven't really watched.
They
I
play
watched
in a
the
half an
first
hour.
game. They played in it. Looks like I'm not going outside today.
Screw it, we're not doing any workouts today.
Scrap it. Scrap it. I'll just do some push-ups.
Jill, can you crack me open a beer?
The game's on!
Yeah, I know. Kind of a bummer. It's in the middle of the afternoon, but it
Yeah,
is what
that
it is.
sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for asking. I'll tell you what I'm grateful for. I'm also grateful for what you just said, but something different is, especially over the last few years, but especially recently, like how much I've learned, how much what's going on up here like dictates your life experience. And so I'm grateful for like just the way that I think and I'm like focused on learning and growth. Like I'm proud about that. And I'm grateful that the people that I surround myself with are also looking to improve in that way. Not only you, but mom and dad and friends and even my conversations with Kelly yesterday. My, mastermind group, everyone is really kind of on the same page of I want to make the most of life. And I know that that requires a good attitude and connecting with people and being kind and just trying to show up for myself and for others. And so I'm just so excited about the compounding effect of that, and I've already seen benefits. You see the benefits from compounding interest in learning for work. You see it in compounding effort at working out. And so I'm just so excited that we have a frame of gratitude and of positivity and that of growth now. And it doesn't have to happen when we turn 50 or 60. And I'm seeing like I saw a post on Instagram that I reposted to my story, but it was like the way to live a fulfilling second half of life is to shift from the fixed to a growth mindset and not just worrying about doing things that I'm good at, but doing things that I'm new at and learning. And one of his favorite questions was to ask people what they're currently a beginner at, because that means that you're challenging yourself to learn something new. And like I saw this post, and the guy was like a famous author, and he was in his mid 50s. I was like, it's so cool that I read that, and I was like, no shit. Like that's how you live a happy second life. That's how you live a happy first half of the life too.
Right. It kind of reminded me the Jaguars GM who used to be in the Rams organization, you told me. Super young guy, mid 30s probably. And
34.
what?
He's 34.
34. Okay, yeah. 34. GM of the Jaguars first year makes a massive trade to get Travis Hunter, and I saw his post press conference and he goes, I think some of the biggest mistakes I've made so far in my life is choosing to not do something because of the fear of the unknown. And so I've just tried to make every choice go with like doing the choice that has the unknown part of it and knowing that it all is going to work itself out in the end. Because someone was like, is it really worth all of those picks to just trade up for someone who you don't even know where he's going to play? And he's just was like, it was absolutely worth it. Yeah, I love making choices with the fear of unknown. It makes you learn more. It makes you better. And at the end of the day, you're you're losing out on everything with that decision if you choose to not do it because you just don't know what's going to happen. And for me, that's one of my things about me that I need to continue to work on is having that fear of unknown not alter the way I make decisions. Because just because you don't know what's going to happen with that situation or whatever it is, doesn't mean it's a bad decision, if that makes sense.
So yeah, continuing to take action in like the face of uncertainty.
Yeah, and like taking risks because there is an unknown risk to it. And I specifically remember him saying like some of the best decisions that I've made are the decisions of the unknown. And he's did the same thing with the Rams, right? And so I don't know,
I
just
saw
another
I
reminder.
s- yeah.
It's just another reminder like even if there's no certain like guaranteed thing at the end of a decision you're making doesn't mean it's a bad decision. And like I that's something I want to work on. And so I heard that this week after the draft happened, and I'm all like, oh, it's such a good reminder.
There's very little certainty in this world.
Yeah,
So if you can operate without the fear of uncertainty getting in your way, then you're probably going to be taking more and more action. That's cool. Yeah, when I saw him they like went into like the Jags draft room and I saw him and I was like, hang on, that's the guy from the Rams. He was the director of scouting because I knew him from the video from the inside the Rams draft room, and he was just like explaining their process. And I was like, God, this is so sick. And then I saw him, and I was like, wow, we keep losing all of our guys. Everyone else keeps taking them.
he was responsible for Puka.
He was the director of scouting from 2022 to 2024, and he was the lead scout from like 2016 to 2022.
He was responsible for Puka.
Yeah. And Kyron and Jared Verse and Braden Fisk,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's
Kobe
epic.
Turner, Kobe Turner. They're gonna be so good. All right.
Yeah, I say that we wrap this up. This was a really I really enjoyed this because I feel like I've switched my mentality just from having this conversation. So it's
Let's
awesome
go.
stuff.
That's what it's all about.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Earn Your Couch. And you know what? If you made it this far, you're one of the true listeners. So Jacob and I just want to say thank you. We appreciate you for sticking around. If you haven't already, give us a follow at Earn Your Couch on Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. If you have a family member or maybe a loved one or even a friend that you think would benefit from the conversation that we had today, we would really appreciate it if you shared this podcast with them. More importantly, if you are earning your couch, feel free to tag us. Tag our Instagram account at Earn Your Couch. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.